My body knows how to do it.
It's a girl.
As we speak, every second, a woman gives birth somewhere in the world. It may sound ordinary, but for the woman living it, birth is nothing like that.
Welcome to Born to be Wild, the podcast. We call in guests from Portugal and beyond to share real birth stories and lived experiences, and to explore what maternity care really feels like on the ground.
In this podcast, we invite you to listen, question, and sometimes unlearn what pregnancy, birth, and postpartum are supposed to look like.
For us, wild means staying connected to yourself, your body, and your choices, even when systems make that difficult.
So let's begin.
You also need to be responsible for what is happening and not just let someone else do their job and hope for the best. You need to search and research, and sometimes you just find these unicorn doctors and things go better than expected.
Today, we're sharing a story of profound resilience. It's the story of Rita, a Portuguese woman who reminds us that there isn't just one way to become a mother.
And what a journey! It unfolds between France and Portugal. Long before she became a mother, she realized she was facing medical challenges with premenopause diagnosis. And at that moment, she felt a deep urgency to slow down and to heal herself. And that was a vital first step that paved the way for everything that followed.
From facing medical hurdles alone to choosing IVF as a single woman, Rita's path is a masterclass in courage. It's the story of a woman who didn't wait for the perfect circumstances to become a mother.
In this podcast, we have already talked about the mother-assisted cesarean. We call it the MAC. And we talked about it from a medical perspective with the Dutch obstetrician. Today, you will hear why this choice allowed Rita to move from being a patient to being the lead participant of her own birth, repairing the trauma of the past.
Yeah, we hope her strength gives courage to any woman navigating an untraditional path, but also any woman who wants to have a respectful birth. Whether you are healing, choosing, or waiting, this episode is for you.
As a quick note, Rita will talk very openly about pregnancy, loss, and birth trauma. Please make sure you take care of yourself as you listen. Let's go.
Hi, Rita. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you're doing, and what you're doing today?
So I'm Rita. I'm 43. I'm Portuguese. I was trained as a veterinarian, but I did a lot of different things in different countries. So I have a very strange professional path, which I find very rich, by the way. Yeah, I did a lot of stuff and I traveled a lot. I have 2 kids, or as I can say, 2 kids with me and 3 in heaven. I was in different countries, and lately I was in France for 14 years, and I came back to Portugal.
Can you tell us a little bit about what led up to your pregnancy journey?
Yeah, well, in 2010, I had cervical cancer with HPV. It was a very early stage. We detected very early. So I had the surgery and all the checks, and it was okay. It was solved. Then, although I was doing contraception, I got pregnant and lost that pregnancy. And at the moment, I didn't really search the reason, because I was sure that it was because it was so shortly after the surgery. It was a very early pregnancy.
When you first realized you were pregnant, what was going through your mind regarding the path forward?
When I discovered the pregnancy, I was 1 month away of moving to France and starting a new job. So it was really not easy. But then I had a miscarriage. And I honestly think that after the miscarriage, you start to ask yourself more questions,
Yes.
more than before,
Yes.
before losing the baby. You just wait and see when you find that you're pregnant, and let's see if it goes. But then suddenly it doesn't, and you just wonder, what if? So after my surgery, I did some psychotherapy, because I wanted to be sure that if I couldn't get pregnant in the future, although there was no reason for me not to get pregnant, but if I couldn't, I didn't want to feel my life was a waste, not having kids.
So, how old were you when the idea of parenthood shifted from maybe someday to, okay, now it's a time?
It honestly started around when I was 38, 39. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a
Yes.
bit late, but that's when I stopped the pill. And I was in hypothalamic amenorrhea for 1 year and a half. So officially, I was in menopause. And I remember I had a doctor in France that just said, well, probably you're in menopause. Would that be okay for you? Because if you don't have kids, if you don't want to have kids, it's quite nice. You don't have to worry about getting pregnant. And I remember it was a shock because I said, well, I'm not sure if I want to have kids because it was not an issue until then. But I surely don't want to have menopause at 38. It's more than having my cycles. It's so much more than that. I don't want, well, the cycle question, okay, let's talk about it. But all the rest, I don't want to have menopause now. So
Mm.
It's a different phase of life, right?
yes, and it has such a negative impact on your health, like for your general health. I don't want to have it that early. I decided, okay, I will change a lot of stuff to see how it goes.
At that time, was it to delay the signs of menopause?
No, I was focused on getting my cycles back and
Okay, yeah. So it
heal
was
my
not
body.
focused on getting pregnant yet.
No, no, I wanted to be healthy, honestly.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yes, yes.
Yeah. So because I had a lot of stress at the moment, so I decided to really take care of myself. And then uh, it was in 2020, after COVID and everything, I had personal problems. I think my body wasn't feeling safe. It was too much stress, so I took care of it in a very holistic way. Sleep, rest, nutrition. I did it without, other conventional medicines.
So, you're 38 and you're facing this diagnosis, and your entire focus shifts toward just getting healthy. And during that time, did you feel like you were carrying that weight on your own, or did you have a team, could be personally or even professionally, behind you that were supporting you?
I found functional medicine. I found a doctor in Portugal, and she helped me in proceeding with this treatment. But the start of it, I was doing it on my own and with some friends that were not really from the medical area. But yeah, it
Okay.
helped me a lot.
And were you in a relationship when you started all that process?
No, I was alone. I was alone in France. I had no partner there, and my family was in Portugal.
Yeah.
Okay.
How was that for you? Did that make you feel?
Well, scared, and with time, I felt really empowered because I managed it. I studied and I did it. And then I met a guy, and suddenly I had my period. Suddenly, when I met him, the month I met him.
Wow. Okay. Your body was just ready.
I don't know. We can say it was meeting him that changed something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I remember crying and being very happy, like it seems so stupid, when you feel the blood flowing out of you and you just say, yay, finally something, like I was working for this for such a long time and I was putting a lot of energy and I changed so many things in my life that, yay, finally it took some time, but okay, it's working.
Also, I can imagine, Rita, that it also has to do with trusting your body.
Yeah, my body was failing me. Oh,
Mhm.
probably I felt like I didn't took care of my body correctly for a long time, so it might be my fault also. So
Yeah.
that's why I was focused on that. And then I remember I had my period back in September, and I started checking for with the LH strips to check if I had ovulation, and I couldn't identify the moment because I learned how to track my cycle, and I couldn't find the moment. I couldn't understand how it was working, but well, I knew it could take time and be a bit messy the first months. Suddenly, I got pregnant in January. Hey,
Wow.
yeah.
And
So
wait, so January, you were with your partner since just a few months, right?
September, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then I just understood that yeah, there was some ovulation happening. I don't know exactly when, but
Your body was working.
Yeah?
yeah. So It was a huge surprise. It really was. And it your body, it's so strange, all those emotions, all those projects. Suddenly you have like doors opening for a different future. So it has such an impact. And I lost that pregnancy around, I'd say, 7 weeks. So it was very early. But after that second miscarriage, I was sure I wanted to try to have a baby. For me, by then, it was sure. I really will do everything for this to happen. When I had the cervical cancer, I did ovocyte preservation. Decided to try to use those ovocytes when we broke up, and I said, okay, no, I feel it. I have to try to make this happen. So I came to Portugal to do the treatment, to unfrozen the ovocytes and to do the embryo transfer. And
Yeah.
I had 9, so I know that not all of them work, but I had
Hmm.
9 and none worked. It was quite strange.
Wow.
It was really heavy when we understood that none of these 9 ovocytes survived, and it made me wonder. Well, do I have a problem? But why is this happening? Is this normal? And at the fertility clinic, they were saying, no, it's not normal. We always have some losses. It's okay to have some ovocytes that don't resist, but yeah, not all 9. It's quite strange. And I said, okay, so
But
yeah, what kind of exams should I have, or what do we do? And I remember them saying, well, we just have to do it all again. There's nothing we can do to check if you have a problem or not. You just have to do it again.
Yeah, and for those who have been going through this kind of treatment, you know how heavy it can be financially, but also on a physical and emotional level.
Well, it's a big it's a big investment because it's financial. It was time because I was living in France and I had to come to Portugal to do that and be here, and it's all the hormones you have to inject in yourself. It's quite heavy emotionally, with no certainty that it's gonna work, right?
yeah. And
So
Rita, at that moment of your life, what was the relationship you had with your body? Because you're telling us about your story, and you already had miscarriages, and it must have been hard emotionally, physically,
it was.
and now you have to go again on this path. Like, how are you feeling overall?
I kept doing psychotherapy because I needed to be in peace with these tries. But what I felt is that it's so hard for you to put all your energy and your hopes on something because you want to do it and you know you have to do it. But you know that if you do it and it doesn't work, it's going to be so heavy on you. So at the
Hmm.
same time, you don't want to put all those hopes on it. I understand it's quite stupid. It sounds quite stupid listening to me saying you this, but it's this balance between being positive and all in. It's going to work. But then if it doesn't, it's so hard to deal with it. Well, things happen. And I decided to get back with my boyfriend, with that previous
Hmm.
one. And the month we got back, I got pregnant again.
Yeah.
I had a miscarriage at 9 weeks.
Again, you have to deal with it.
My mind was all the places. I didn't know how to make sense of it. What was happening? Was it my fault? Because I had all these problems, 3 miscarriages, 9 ovocytes that didn't work. So yeah, it's me.
But Rita, did you have any medical explanation for
No,
those miscarriages?
no. No, you're just told that, well, you're 40 years old and more than 1/3 of the pregnancies don't go through. So yeah, bad luck. When something like this happens, doctors, they focus a lot on the woman. And having a baby is a matter of two, not one. I understand that most of it happens in female body, but it's not just one. You need two. And yeah, sometimes there are other problems, not just the woman's body. So I did so many exams, so many things, and some of them quite invasive and difficult. And I was quite annoyed. I feel like saying another word, but I was quite annoyed that no one was doing exams to him
Hmm.
because he already had a daughter that was 10 years at the moment. And I say, yeah, but he has a daughter, so everything is okay with him. And then after a few months of insisting and all my screening being normal, we did some exams and there were some problems with him. So it was not just all my
It wasn't
fault.
just you. Yes.
Yeah, it's not my fault. You see, we immediately say
Yeah.
this. It was my fault. No, it was not my fault, right? If something was wrong with my body or with my physiology, it's not really my fault because I didn't do anything
No.
for it to go wrong.
Yeah, well, it's so common for women to carry the weight of that guilt, but as you eventually discovered, biology is so much more complex than just one person. It's important to say, and for anyone listening, to hear that a miscarriage is never a personal failure or your fault, no matter what the diagnosis eventually shows. But hey, Rita, tell us how it went from here.
We finally broke up. And after these 3 miscarriages and this bad experience with the ovocytes, I went back to the fertility clinic and I said, well, I honestly really want to try it. I had all these psychological follow up because I felt it was hard. It was hard to go through this mostly alone. It was really hard. So yeah, so I managed everything. I felt it was the moment to take care of a lot of things. So I came back to Portugal to try to do the IVF and to deal with some heritage problems. And I said, okay, I'll just go back for a few months and see if I can set everything straight and for this heritage point of view and take care of my future with the baby
Yeah.
eventually.
For the decision to do IVF was a decision made by yourself?
It was because when I went to the doctor, she said, "Well, now that you're single, perhaps you'll meet someone. Don't you want to wait?" I said, "I don't feel like waiting because first, I don't find it reasonable to have dates to try to meet people with a clock ticking and say, oh, well, I really want to do it. And we have a few months to just meet and do it. And it's not how it works. I don't know. If I meet someone, a guy that is in his 40s, 40 somethings, well, he might be single, but he might be divorced with kids and not want more kids. And I said, no, I'm not taking the risk. I really want to try to have a kid. So my responsibility, I will do it alone. And I did. So in early 2023, we did a round of hormonal stimulation for an IVF and we obtained 3 embryos, which was, every step
That's
was
That's
great.
very, very,
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
we had more ovocytes, but then we had 3 embryos.
How did that make you feel when you got that news?
It's such a great happiness, and at the same time, you're so scared that it goes wrong.
Yeah.
So we did the embryo transfer for the most viable one, and it worked. So I had the lottery. It really worked. It's like for my age, for this first round of IVF, I don't know, chances of success are like 10 or 20, 12%. It's so narrow.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I managed to get pregnant. I was very happy. I was living this pregnancy. Uh, Everything was so good. I was feeling so good, and it was just great. It was a boy, a baby
Yeah.
boy. Yeah. And suddenly around 26 weeks, I started feeling him less.
Mhm.
But I had frontal placenta and it changed his position. So I went to the emergency services of the maternity here in Coimbra and they did like an ultrasound for like, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds. I said, yeah, the heart is beating. Everything is okay. He's moving. You're not feeling it, but he's moving. Everything is okay. Go home.
And they didn't do a CTG or something?
No, never. And
Okay.
I said, okay, but yeah, it's so strange. And one of the doctors said, well, if you still feel like that in 1 or 2 days, just come back. And 2 days after, I went back. And they did again the ultrasound. They took more time to check everything. It was okay. Yeah, he was not he was not moving much, but he was moving. Everything seemed normal.
Yeah.
I was not, yeah, I was not confident. But I said, okay, I need to trust them, right? They checked, everything was okay. I'm There's a lot of stress, so it's probably due to that. So when I went back that Friday, the entire day I couldn't feel the baby. I was scared and I said, okay, I will eat something and lay a bit. And if he doesn't move, I'll go to the hospital. And I did. So we did some checks. He was okay, but I'm not sure of the heart rate, if it was okay or if there was a problem. So they just checked me out for security. Just come tomorrow and we'll do a CTG. By then, they did a CTG on that Friday, and we'll do again a CTG for, 1 or 2 hours just to check, and then you go home.
And on that Friday, the CTG was good.
Yeah, but they were not. 100% sure.
Okay.
What was it that they weren't 100% sure?
Because I was having a lot of Braxtonics, and every time I had, the heart rate was dropping a bit, but he was small. They said, well, he's still a small baby, so let's see how it goes. And so then Saturday I arrived with a book to spend 1 or 2 hours there laying. The 1 or 2 hours happened to be 4 or 5, and then I couldn't eat, and then they had to send me to the regional hospital in emergency, and they wanted to keep me until Sunday. But yeah, it felt strange.
And why was that? Because the CTG wasn't good, or what was the
Yeah,
reason they wanted to send you to a
the
different
the
hospital?
heart rate was dropping, and he was not recovering fast.
And you still had the Braxton Hicks.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So they suspected it was a sign of early labor, or
No, no, they suspected something was wrong, and they had no idea why.
how are you feeling
I was
at that
scared because
moment?
I had no home,
Yeah.
because I would have an apartment by the end of August. And I said, well, something is not going according to plan. Yeah. So I remember on Sunday, we did all these CTGs for hours, and we saw that, yeah, every time I had Braxtonix, his heart rate recovery was slower every time. And they suddenly decided to check and considered there was not much liquid and that he was too small. And then every doctor that came did all these measurings, and there was not agreement between what they saw. And so they started giving me the corticosteroids for the lung maturation and the magnesium sulfate for the brain of the baby.
Oh, yeah, it seems like they were preparing you and the baby for an early birth, right? So tell us, how did it go from Tuesday morning on?
So on Tuesday morning, they just said, well, things don't look good. We cannot force you to have this baby, but you can go home if you want, and we will send you a midwife to check and do CTGs twice a week. But we can't assure you that the baby will be alive next time we check. So we propose you to have this
Whoa.
baby now.
Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah.
That must have been a bomb dropping, you know?
Things were building from that weekend. I was already thinking about that
Yeah.
Yeah.
that situation.
You were suspecting it. But how did that go? Tell us a little bit about that, because they said, okay, you can do this. Option A is to do the checkups with the midwives and the CTGs twice a week, but we don't know if your baby's going to be alive. And option B is to give birth.
They say something is happening. His heart is failing. We don't know what it is. There's a risk if we take him out, but we can take care of him. And while he's in your belly, there's not much we can do.
Yeah.
So in the early stages of the pregnancy, he was head down, and then he moved.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they were considering that he was blocking the cord. There was something wrong, and he was small. So every time I had all these Braxonics, he was contracting and probably blocking the cord, but we couldn't know for sure. So I had this emergency C-section, and the moment they were preparing me, I was sitting to prepare for anesthesia. I was crying like the world was
Yeah.
ending,
I can imagine.
because I was feeling so frustrated, and it's quite emotional for me to still talk about it, because I was living as such a happy pregnancy,
Yeah.
and it was being taken away from me, and there was no one to be found guilty of that. Like, you can't point
Yeah.
the finger or anything. Like,
Yeah.
you have all this rage, frustration, sadness, and fear, and this huge mixed feelings, and you feel you're ready, but you're not ready. It was not supposed to be like this. I was supposed to give birth in a different situation with a baby fully developed. What will happen to him? Will he die? Yeah,
Yeah.
it was scary. So I had my baby at 28 weeks and 5 days. August 1st, 2023. He was supposed to arrive on October 25th. So 3 months early.
28 weeks is considered as very premature. So it's,
Yeah,
I mean, the
it's
chances of survival are high, but it's still very premature.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so I had this C-section, and while doing it, they explained to me they have to cut larger because the baby's so small. They need to, go there pick him up.
Mhm.
Like it's not like your belly is popping and there's a lot of pressure to take him out.
Mhm.
And he was sitting, so he had the cord around his legs, and he was sitting. And when they took him out, apparently, what happened? It's something that can happen. It's described and happens in very premature babies on the C-section. Is that my uterus contracted? It was very tonic, and so my uterus contracted. We can say that well, the body didn't want the baby to leave birth, but yeah, and so he was blocked by his neck.
It was almost like your body wasn't ready to let the baby go. Hey, but how was the general, yeah, kind of vibe in the operating room? Were people, the operating team, were they confident or a bit worried? How did that go?
I wasn't seeing it, but I remember looking at the anesthetic surgeon, and I could see in his eyes that he was so scared. I could see something was really wrong by looking at him. And he was trying to say, no, no, it's just a small problem. Everything is okay. Don't worry. But I could see in his eyes. And they explained that they had to cut me, I don't know how you say it in English. In French, it's césarienne corporelle. So they cut me like this and again like this.
Yeah, so horizontally and vertically.
Yeah. So they took the baby. I never heard him crying. They just took him away. I gave my phone to one of the doctors so she could give me a photo of my kid. I went to see him like 5 hours later.
Wow, I can imagine 5 hours must have felt like an eternity for you. And so tell us, how is it to finally be able to hold your baby?
One moment, I'm gonna have so much rage against this. I will feel it's so, the injustice of it, that I was stolen, that I was taken away. End of pregnancy, this birth, everything I dreamed for so many years. Yeah, always saw birth and pregnancy as, if you ask about maternity, in my mind, since I'm a kid, it's pregnancy and birth are magical. That's what I wanted to live. Raising a kid, okay, comes after, but
Yeah.
the magical thing is that. And I was taken that way. And yeah, I had to work on it to just accept it. But I honestly feel always very emotional, and it's traumatic. It stays with you.
Well, I can imagine. And we also really appreciate you naming that as a trauma, Rita, because sometimes we're told like something like at least the baby is okay. But that, of course, ignores the fact that your experience really matters too. And acknowledging that it stays with you is such an important part of the healing. So tell us a bit about what happened afterwards. When were you able to go home?
I was home after the C-section after 4 days or 5 days. And he stayed.
Yeah.
Wow, oh, that was quick.
In this case, they always tell you that kids are supposed to stay until the supposed birth date. So
Yeah.
he was supposed to stay there for 3 months, but he only stayed 2 months because he was improving really well, and they trusted me to come home with a follow up. So
Okay.
there was a nurse coming home to check. He was latching. I was always stimulating him while he was in the nursery, and so he managed to take my breast and breastfed really well. So we came home very early. He came home very
Mhm.
early because I was already home.
Amazing.
Did you ever get like a clear medical explanation for why the birth happened so prematurely?
The analyzed placenta, the placenta was not working correctly. Suddenly, it was having a lot of fibrosis and necrosis. So it was a placenta, the reason for all this. So I did some testing, and they considered that I had some thrombophilia mutations. So it would be high risk for a next pregnancy. I would have to take some medicine, but they said, well, you can try to have a second baby. And I remember, just don't talk about that now. I'm a single mom with a baby. One is enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a few months later, I was like,
So, second baby.
So second baby with one baby and no help and no one there. You feel quite the responsibility if something happens to you.
Yeah.
There's a road accident. You can't pick up your kid. What's happening to him? You feel you're sick. What's happening to your
Yeah.
kid? Yeah. So I said, okay. I will quit everything I have here, all these years spent here, everything, and we'll go back to Portugal because I need some backup. I need some help, at
Yeah.
least with my kids. It's a decision I took because I find it was the good decision for this, or the only decision for this. Because yeah, if you have money, you can pay for someone to help you at home, right? In a
Yeah.
foreign country. But first you have to have the money and then you have help. But it's not the same as having my parents helping me
Yeah. Of
with my kid.
course.
It was
Yeah.
also the opportunity for my kid to spend time with his only family because yeah, there's no father side of the family and I'm only child. So
Okay.
it felt the good solutions. So I transferred one embryo and I had lottery again. So it worked
Yay.
again. And my first one is a boy and my second one is a girl.
How did it go with the medical challenge you had?
During both pregnancies, I had also acupuncture follow up, and I did everything I could. And I was told to for this thrombophilia treatment, and yeah, I did my best. But I was always told that it was high risk, that I couldn't take it till the end because I had a very high risk of uterine rupture due to the C-section of my baby, of the first one. And I searched also around here in Coimbra the opinion. I think I met 6 or 7 doctors because I really wanted someone to tell me that I could give birth naturally, but no one.
And what was the reason? What was the reason they told you no?
The way they had to cut my
Yeah.
uterus for
Yeah.
my boy to be born.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, after the 6 or 7 opinion, I just said, well,
Maybe you guys are right. Yeah.
yeah. But one of these doctors, she told me, well, we could try vaginal birth, but yeah, I have so many conditions. I don't know. But let's wait. We need to wait until the end.
So it was like a yes, but with a massive if attached to it. It wasn't like an open door.
Yeah. And I was having all this psychotherapy follow up because I really felt I needed some help because it was like, it's like you have PTSD and you're going through something that is traumatic and it's a small baby in your belly and you're not giving all the energy and all the trust and all the positive vibes and everything. You're already leaving your baby alone.
Yeah, lots of voices. And Rita, how did this second pregnancy feel for you? Was it any different from the first one?
To be honest, the early stages were very similar. I was afraid, so I knew I had to do checkups. I had all these timings. I had lost the other pregnancies or the timing when something was wrong with my boy. I knew I had to check up and be sure that everything was okay. You just need to reassure yourself with something,
Yeah.
right?
And I can also imagine, Rita, when you hit that 28-week mark, that some memories came back
Yeah.
as well.
I remember the doctor saying, You're freaking out, you're too scared, you're asking too many questions. And I said, Hey, yeah. Well, you know why? Yeah, but this is a different pregnancy. Yes, yeah, yeah. And everything is okay. Yeah, the other one too everything was okay with the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You felt good with your body because the first
I
pregnancy
did.
you could feel something was a bit off. The second pregnancy, you felt in your body that everything was
Yeah.
going well.
And this time I didn't have that feeling. So everything was really great. Everything was great with my first boy. So yeah, I was really enjoying it. It also helped me having a doula because I didn't want my family to be with me. I wanted my family to focus on my boy, right? I said, I can go through this alone. I've been there. I can go through this alone, but I can't go through this alone if my boy isn't okay. I can be in 2
Mm.
places, right? I need to be in peace with the fact that I'm not with him. It would be
Yeah.
our first time apart. So I need to be in
Mm.
peace that everything is okay with him so I can focus on birth and recovering. So I was checking my options and seeing what was possible for me as a birth. And at the maternity at the hospital, for them, it was clear. C-section, 38, maximum 39 weeks.
Mhm.
And I was asking them questions that they didn't like because I asked, well, can can we do skin to skin? And I said, no, you have the surgery field. There's no space. And I was like, I do surgery. I know how it is. No, no way.
Yeah.
So, so one of these doctors left the door open for uh, vaginal birth under a lot of condition, and the other option was a C-section. And she said it's the safest option for me. But I told her that the normal procedure for C-sections, it's not the way I see things. It's very surgical, like very sterile. I don't see things like that. And lights on your baby's eyes the first time
Mm.
he comes out, and all this, yeah, it didn't feel right for me. And she told me she could do it differently. She told me that in one of those private hospitals, she had a different procedure with her team where they were respectful, honestly, and they paid attention to the lights and the way they do the aspiration of the liquid, and that they would take the baby out just a little bit, and I could be the one taking my baby out of my belly and everything. And I had seen that in social network.
What you're describing, Rita, is the maternity assisted cesarean,
Yeah.
the MAC. And
Yeah,
we just had an episode about it
I
with
saw it. Yeah,
a Dutch
yeah.
obstetrician that has developed that methodology in the Netherlands. But in Portugal, it's actually very new.
And the first time she told me about it, I said, well, even I agree with everything, but it felt like too much for me to take my baby out, like I don't
Yeah.
even ask for that. It's funny because just a few weeks before having this appointment, I talked to Dola and she said, well, have you seen this doctor? She might be able to give you different options for a C-section. And I said, yeah, I have an appointment in like 2 weeks. So everything was coming, like everything was coming to gather in the same way out. And I was like, yeah, I think this might be the option. And
This
so
feels right.
yes, she explained it to me, and uh, it felt respectful. Honestly, it felt
Mhm.
more natural. Of course, it's surgery, but yeah, with these other details, they make the difference, right? So I still wanted to wait to see if I could have the vaginal birth, but at the moment, I just talking with my psychotherapist and everything. I knew I had to make a decision, right? And it was hard. It was hard. The conditions he presented me for a vaginal birth, I honestly knew my body wouldn't be able to respect it because it doesn't work like that, right?
Yeah. And taking a decision also, I guess it's about being able to pictures what lies ahead, what will be the journey. So I can understand how important that was at some point, and just on a psychological level, just
Yes,
to know what's going to happen.
yes. And I felt like I can't leave all these options open because uh, I will feel again frustrated and that something was taken away from me. If I consider a vaginal birth and then it's a C-section, I will feel it again. So if I have like, I don't know, 80% chances it will end up in a C-section, well, I will just think it will be a C-section and go there and know how it will be and do my best. And okay, it's a C-section. How can we do it the best way possible?
And I think, Rita, it's really good that you explored all the options. So you know what your options even are, but also that you feel in charge of those options. And I think it's really good that you did that and really strong. And also, I feel like you looked at yourself into the mirror and like, okay, this is the situation. Okay, I have to handle this. It's really strong. Yeah, I like it.
So yeah, and I also felt that I needed to focus more and, visualize it and get ready for it. And from a psychological point of view, deal with everything and settle everything. It's going to be a C-section. Okay. What can we do for it to go the best way possible? And what are the scenarios, the options? So we did it that way. We planned it with the doula and the doctor.
And did the doula could be there with you?
Yes, yes, she was
That's
there with me the
great.
whole time.
And the doctor, she had done it before, a Mac?
Yeah, she does it. She does it regularly, from what I understand, with her team. So yeah, she's quite special. I had Ines Alvin as my doula, and she really helped me because we think the doula mostly for her presence in birth, but for me it was so much more. This second opportunity of having a pregnancy till the end, a peaceful pregnancy and a peaceful birth. It was healing, right? It
Hmm.
was not the ideal because I still think that in the next life I will come to this to this
Yeah.
earth and I will have vaginal birth, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit about the day you gave birth to your daughter.
I felt very safe because I had Ines and two other nurses from the doctor's team, and it was really great to have them. They were there to take care of me and my baby, and yeah, I felt safe, and yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Yes.
I still cried like a baby when they were preparing me for the C-section,
Yeah,
right?
I can imagine you were also a bit nervous.
Because I was crying because I was nervous, but I was crying because I was happy because I made it, I made it till the end.
Mm, to the end of the pregnancy, exactly. And you're in control of what's going to happen. You'll be
So
able to welcome
Yeah.
your baby. So let's talk about the Mac.
it's so natural and so crazy, right? At the same time, how it's done. They took me to the operating room. You can put your music there and they are chatty because everything is okay. There's no emergency. There's no rush like the last time
Yeah.
I'd been there.
So, Rita, you got rolled into the operating room and then you got the anesthesia. Did they tell you something about the procedure, or can you share with us a little bit in detail how that went, the whole
They
procedure?
describe it step by step and they guide you through it. I already knew how it was because I did my research. Yeah, but they just explain to you everything they are doing. And well, the difference is mainly because that they prepare you in sterile with
Okay.
gloves and a gown. Usually they don't do that to the mother, right? But they do it so they can lower the field and give
Mhm.
Yeah.
and allow me to pick up the baby.
Yeah.
So I go into the sterile field, right? I need to be sterile too.
Exactly. So they make the incision and then they do some stuff in your belly. And then there's the moment you're gonna meet your baby. How is that? What do you have to do?
Well, she was head down, right?
Yeah.
And so they take the head out and she's almost sitting, right? They just take
Yeah.
part of her out, they lower the field, and I just go half
Wow.
Wow.
inside me, right? Yeah. I know it won't be okay for some mothers. I
Yeah.
understand that it's probably too much for some people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
then you can put your baby on
and then you
your
just take her.
breast. Yeah. And so you put the gown down or
Yeah,
something, or
you
how does
just
that work?
put her on your chest. They
Yeah.
they put the field up so they can
Yeah.
clean up and do what they need to do. Well, because
Yes.
your body is open, right?
Yes.
And then you take out the gown and the gloves, and she's just staying with you. Yeah,
Wow. And she's there the whole time?
yeah.
Oh, that's
It's something
amazing.
that you didn't have the chance to experience for the first birth. So how did that feel for the second one?
So peaceful.
Yeah. It still makes you emotional,
I was
huh?
so scared with my firstborn, he's taken away and you don't know what's
Yeah.
Yeah.
happening. And then this time she was okay and she was there.
Yeah.
It's just great. So they just wait for all the blood transfer from the cord. They waited for the
Yeah.
cord to stop bleeding.
So they did delayed cord clamping?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because they are busy cleaning and preparing for taking out the placenta and preparing all that to close. So meanwhile, and I cut the cord and yeah,
That's cool.
we
Yeah.
just stay together and yeah, well, it's so great. It's, just to be able to touch your baby just like in a vaginal birth, Her first cry was in my hand and it's so peaceful also for the babies. The pediatrician was saying that he sees the difference of a baby that is born in these conditions, stays with the mom. Then they took her for like 2 minutes just to, replace the cord clamp. and
Mhm.
see and weigh her.
Yeah.
It took a
That's
few
good.
minutes, and she came back. Well, she was born around noon, and I guess we put some clothes on her, 4 o'clock or something. So we just stayed together,
You didn't have a golden hour, but you had
No,
4 golden hours.
yes, yes, yes. And the time it took for them to finish the C-section, she was already latching, so it was perfect.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so different from my previous experience. Like I say, it was healing. It I was safe and in peace, and everything felt right. And the team was lovely. They were very friendly, and the team is great.
I think it's amazing to know that it's available here in Portugal, and it also gives other options to all the moms listening today. And I feel that, yes, it's important to bring this conversation and to continue sharing that there are other ways, even for C-section, to feel more empowered and to be an actress of your own birth.
You have different doctors working in different ways because you have so many different people. What feels good for one person doesn't feel good for the other one. But the way she sees things, not just the moment of birth, but all the follow up, it really echoes the way I feel things and I see things.
Mm.
In order to search for something different, it's a lot of responsibility, right? When you're facing a doctor, culturally, you don't question what they said. You just trust it, right? I was facing doctors and asking them questions.
Rita, from all this journey, from the miscarriage, the fertility, the pregnancies, the two very different births you had, what is the one learning that you want to take, to keep, and maybe to share with the community listening?
You need to study things. You need to research. You need to do your homework. You can't just trust that people will take care of you. They will. It's their job. But well, sometimes there are other options. Sometimes they make mistakes. You also need to be responsible for what is happening and not just let someone else do their job and hope for the best. You need to search and research, and sometimes you just find these unicorn doctors and things go better than expected, right? Uh, and I'm very happy I did. I'm very, very happy I did. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rita, for sharing your
You're welcome.
extraordinary story and multiple stories in one, actually. But it also led to two beautiful kids, and we can see a very happy mom.
I am. I am. I was very lucky, honestly.
And I just wanted to share as well that I'm really, amazingly surprised, and I feel that it was not an easy path all the way, and you had to go through a lot. And I feel sometimes you didn't describe in details, but we could feel what it took for you to get there. But yeah, you're really strong and inspiring woman. So thank you so much for sharing your
Thank you.
story.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to Born to Be Wild, the podcast. If you want to continue the conversation, you can find us on Instagram at borntobewild.pt and Birth Mode. We would love to hear from you.
All sources and references mentioned in this episode are in the show notes below. And if you enjoy this episode, of course, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. It's really the best way to help us grow. See you next time!